I saw that. And our discussion happens after that, too. (6:30). We will open the Planning Commission meeting of January 4th, 2024. Can you believe it's 2024? Wow. Okay. Makes me feel old. Brandy, will you do a roll call?
You bet. Commissioner Wise is not present. Commissioner Muhic.
Present.
Commissioner Rathe.
Here.
Commissioner Gadbois. Commissioner Alvarez.
Here.
Commissioner Kane-Burback.
Here.
And Burback, sorry. And Chair Blees.
Here.
And our council liaison, Nordby, is not here tonight. He has an excused absence. And I would also like to request all of our commissioners, since we've got some new faces here, to turn on your mics. Thank you.
Brandy, is yours on?
It is, but it
Doesn't
doesn't
sound
sound
like
like it,
it's
does it? The light is green.
Hello, hello.
Hello? Is that better? I have to
Yeah,
really eat.
I saw a thumbs up.
Okay.
That means something. Thank you. Thank you, tech. Okay. That being the case, we have an agenda in front of us for tonight's meeting. I'd welcome a motion to adopt the agenda as written.
I'll adopt.
Motion from Commissioner Rathe. Second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Muhic. All in favor say aye. Aye. No, that's good. And next on the agenda is approval of the December 7th meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the meeting of December, 7th?
A motion to adopt the meetings from December 7th.
Motion from Commissioner Alvarez. Second?
A second.
Second from Commissioner Rathe. All in favor say aye, unless there's, there. I didn't ask for any discussion, but there was not a whole lot there. That being the case, don't mind me. I'm using a new device tonight, so my apologies if I'm slow to fiddle around. The next item on the agenda is a meeting open to the public. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak on topics other than what is on the agenda, you have 3 minutes to do so, if you would like to. Do we have Zoom on tonight?
We do? And there's nobody on Zoom.
Okay.
I believe that the folks in the audience are here to talk about agenda items, but there's not a public hearing for that item.
Correct.
So would it be the
So,
appropriate time for them to come up now?
as opposed to presenting the proposals? Yeah, it's not a public hearing, so if there's somebody who has something to say about that, I suppose it seems like now is the appropriate time to do so.
Right. Are you here to speak to the commission about the item on the agenda? Oh, okay. I was led to believe by my staff that somebody might be here to speak and address the commission, so my apologies.
There will at some point be a public hearing should a proposed site
A public
plan.
hearing may occur at city council, but not at the planning commission.
Yeah. Okay, since there is no one here for the open public meeting, we can proceed with presentations. Brandy, can you initiate that?
Yep, I would like to introduce Doug Andrus and Tracy Luther. They're here to present on behalf of themselves for their project at 17th and Delaware. Would you like to come on up? In front of in the podium.
You need a microphone
We'll
only
need it to
because
capture for the YouTube video.
For others, yes.
I will have a presentation following your presentation. It'll come later on in the meeting, so you're welcome to stick around for that or not.
All right. Well, I don't know if you got the packet with our letter that we put in there, and I kind of explained how we've been working with the city and how we've come up with 3, 4 different plans trying to get something to work on this piece of property. The biggest problem with the piece of property is the portion to the, what's that, east is too narrow for anything. It's only 100 feet wide. You can't put a road in there, you can't put a building in there, you can't access it, you know. So basically, that's a dead piece of property. So then what we've done, we showed a couple with a couple roads in it and see if we could get more density that way. The problem with that is there's bad soil on the property, and it's gonna cost a fortune.
Excuse me.
You put a road in there to take out all the bad soil and to try and make it buildable. It just isn't feasible for only 12 lots or whatever you're gonna get. And plus, it looks a little hokey in there if you kind of look at it, because, you know, the rest of the houses are all in a regular rectangular blocks, and then this comes in there like that, and the back of the house would be facing 17. Back would be facing west or east. So we came up with our latest design, which you see is a colored one, which is just, let's just do it right off of 17th, just like the rest of the houses are. We'll turn the corner, do a couple off of Delaware, just like the rest of the houses are. And that's the simplest and most cost-effective to make it work. I think it fits in nice with the neighborhood. You know, it just looks like if they did this from the get-go 30 years ago, that's what they would have did, just like that, you know, except that we got that landlocked piece of property. But on there, we'll have to put a pond in for the drainage for these properties, and then just leave the rest as open space.
And design-wise, they'll be,
Yeah, they'll
fit in with the neighborhood too, one story, as it were.
we're doing some up on Cary Lane. I don't know if anybody's been up there and looked at them. We have 18 units up there. They're twin homes just like these. We have only 4 left. We've sold 14 of them already. These would be pretty similar to that design. They'd just be a little bit different because the lots are a little bit different, a little narrower lots, so it'd be a little longer. But they'd be similar to that. They're 1 levels with full basements. The reason for the full basements is, again, for the bad soil. We'll get down below the bad soil to be able to put our footings down, and then we'll just have to haul the rest of that dirt out. But if you were to put a slab on grade or whatnot, you'd have to dig the dirt out, put the dirt back, then do the slab on grade. So again, it gets really costly. The thing with these 1-level townhomes, what we're finding out is there's a real need for them in North St. Paul. I mean, we get a lot of people asking about, you know, they want to stay in North St. Paul, they want to get rid of their 2-story house and move into a 1-level townhome, but we don't have very many of them in North St. Paul, hardly any at all. So the only other factor is the price of them, is if they can afford it or not. And it's, you know, these will probably be running in the $400,000 range, just basically because you can't build anything for less than $400,000 anymore. That's with the cost of materials and whatnot. But I think it'd be a good fit for the neighborhood, and I don't know if you have any questions for me.
So the other plans. Sorry, the other plans that are in our packet are other options. The ones that you say I mean, they're presented as options, but you really don't intend to
No, they were
proceed with that.
options, fiddling around with it.
Okay.
I just want to give you, we're not just coming up here pulling this out of our hat. We've been working on this for a year. We spent a lot of money on this. This has all been surveyed out. And these other options just don't work. We had it bid out, how much it would cost to put the road in, how much it would cost to put the sewer and water in. You're looking at $800,000, $900,000, That's not even including the cost of the land. You start putting that in there, well, it just doesn't pay. They're not gonna sell for 100,000 each lot, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where we fall back on the way
And
that we have it designed now.
would you envision this being presented formally as a planned unit development?
Yes, it would have to be, yeah,
Okay.
they usually are.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
It'll be association maintained, you know, typical townhouse deal where the grass is cut and
Have you done
plowed.
anything to investigate with the county about accessing 17th?
yes, I already emailed the county and they said fine.
They said they're fine with it? Okay.
As I showed them the same proposals. It just doesn't work. We've tried. They rather you didn't,
Yeah,
but then they seen it all and they said, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
yeah.
So what you're saying is there'd be 2 entrances off of Delaware, and then the other 3 would be off of 17th? Is that
Correct.
what you're
Yeah,
saying?
correct.
And these are sharing a driveway, is that right?
We just put in one big wide driveway, right?
That's the only thing that kind of gives me a little bit of pause, because I just am a little concerned about the mass of the driveway on the front of the units as opposed to what the rest of the street is going to look like. But, you know,
You know, we could split it down the middle. There's 4 or 5 feet between the units. You know, it's just, you know, what you think looks nice, really.
Yeah.
You know, we've done it both ways in the past. Some things that we find out is you split it down the middle, then you got rocks in the middle, and then they're plowing them out. And,
Sure.
You know, so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's probably easier for them to deal with during the winter time when they have to plow and what have you.
And it doesn't look as big. I mean, if you went up and looked at their ones on Cary Lane, because the buildings are going to be bigger too, so it doesn't really look out of place.
Out of proportion, okay. And Brandy, that area that's far enough away from the school that there's not going to be a lot of queuing for people picking up and dropping off kids over there, right? It's on the other side of the street from there.
I don't think I can intelligently answer that. I'm not entirely sure where the queuing happens.
I can, it's not.
Okay,
I would say that the queue does not go down that far.
okay, I didn't think
Yeah.
so, but I wasn't positive.
I have not seen it there.
Doesn't go much beyond the ball field.
Yeah, the ball field is
Okay.
as far as I've seen it go.
Might have seen it go once or twice. But
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah,
Yeah.
individual occasion.
in bad weather or something, yeah.
The only thing I feel like it's missing is I would really like to see a sidewalk on the side going up to the additional units on the cross street. I think it's that 3rd Street, I think,
In Delaware?
Third and Delaware.
or Delaware, yeah.
It's third.
Or at least provisions for that for later. Because I know there's already a side street along, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the names of the streets over there.
17th and
Yeah, 17th, so. But that's just nice to have, you know.
It potentially impacts the corner lot a little
Yeah.
bit.
You mentioned there's issues with bad soil. What is the, any indications as to what caused that, where that came from, or any?
Well, from the old church that was there when they tore it down, they apparently just filled it in with any old stuff that they could find, you know, because it was privately owned at the time. Well, now you can't build on it. You know.
And I think it had a basement, if I
it was
remember
full
right.
basement,
Yeah.
I mean, it took a big part of that.
Yeah.
Part of the big church.
Yeah. Are there any other questions, comments? Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Well, Brandy, should we
I think we should move on to the next agenda item.
proceed to the next agenda item? The next agenda item is item 7, commission business. And the first item there is election of chair and vice chair. So, that being the case, that's an annual thing that we're doing for those of you who are new here. So what I would ask for is nominations for chair, just from a formality standpoint.
You asking for that right now?
I'm asking for that.
Mr. Blees, your name, please.
Okay. I'm going to actually write it down. No, maybe I'm not.
Here's a pen.
There used to be a can of pens here, I thought. There's no can of pens.
Y'all got taken.
Did you realize there was this?
Oh, yeah, but Chris was so kind to put this here, so then I can record it for
Very nice.
meeting minutes. Isn't that nice?
That's congrats.
Are we trading pens for Post-it notes, are we?
There any other nominees for chair? All right. In that case, if no other nominations, then I would ask for a motion to
Do we close the nominations, or do we just,
well,
do we just go ahead?
technically we close the nominations. Yeah, if there are no other nominations, then a motion for election of chair. And since there is one nominee, that's pretty straightforward.
I move we close nominations and proceed directly to the election of the chair.
Okay. Actually, I don't think we have to do that, but we can do that. Then we would ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Rathe to close nominations. And then motion to move to elect the nominee.
I motion to elect Patrick Blees as chair.
Motion from Commissioner Alvarez. A second? Second from Commissioner Gadbois. All in favor, say aye.
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 Congratulations.
Welcome to another cycle, Mr. Blees.
Another cycle. With that, I'd like to call for nominations for the vice chair. The vice chair right now is Commissioner Weiss, who's not present tonight. So I'm looking for nominations for vice chair.
Do we have any idea if he has an interest in running for vice chair?
I don't know. I don't know either way.
I don't know either way, but if he were to be nominated, I think we could go ahead with that.
Yeah. You know, it's like you're not present. You get to, everybody else gets to decide, right?
As long as he doesn't do a Calvin Coolidge on us.
Okay. So can we have nominations for vice chair? Someone,
I motion to nominate Andrew Weiss as vice chair.
okay. Any others? No other nominations for vice chair. Then can I have a motion to elect Commissioner Weiss?
I'll make the motion that you need.
Motion from Commissioner Rathe for Andrew Weiss as vice chair. Second for that?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Muhic. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Business complete. We have a surprise for Commissioner Wise when he shows up. Not really. I don't think it'll be a surprise at all to him.
See what happens when you don't show up, right?
Well, I like to try to be here for meetings anyway myself, so he's supposed to cover for me when I get hit by a bus or something. That being the case, there's the next item on the agenda. Business is consideration of the proposals for 17th and Delaware property, which it appears you're prepping for that. I don't have the option to do that, but perhaps the tech can do that. I could eat the mic more.
That's better.
I have to get really close to it to do that. It's like I'm a performer. I need to get really close and eat the mic.
As long as they don't put it on reverb.
Well, I'll go ahead and get started while he's doing that. So the next item on the agenda is the presentation or the staff report for the 17th and Delaware development site, the proposals that we've received. A little history for all of you, and especially the new commissioners. The city received unsolicited interest from 3 parties earlier this year to possibly purchase the site at 2329 17th Avenue. And to fairly evaluate those proposals, we issued an RFP in May to all 3 parties. We received two complete proposals, and both of those parties were invited to present to the City Council in July. At the August meeting, the City Council considered the proposals, and then they asked staff to further evaluate the site to possibly use it for the city's student-built housing, where the city would then develop the site in partnership with the Century College program. Staff provided the presentation to the City Council in November, and at that time, Council agreed that it would not pursue that student-built option and would instead go down the path of selecting a developer to sell the property to. And so they determined that the Planning Commission should hear the presentations by both developers and then make a recommendation to City Council. So we had invited both the Andrus built developer as well as High Point Group to attend tonight and present. And unfortunately, we had one group that does not show up for the presentation. So a little bit about the development site. The property is located at the corner of 17th Avenue and Delaware. It is a 2.4 acre parcel that was the site of a former church that was demolished in 2009. It is a site that's located in low density residential neighborhood that's zoned R1. It is across the street from Richardson Elementary and half a mile from both of the city's community parks, Casey Lake and Silver Lake. It's also an additional 700 feet from Polar Park if you're looking at it from as the bird flies. And the surrounding uses are 1 to 2 story single family homes that are the predominant structures in the area. So the first proposal you heard from our development developers, they are proposing to develop approximately 1 acre of the lot for 5 twin homes, essentially. And as they mentioned, there would be no interior streets or driveways proposed. The 1.5 acre additional green space would be undeveloped as an outlot. And as they mentioned, they have had some preliminary discussions with Ramsey County to access 17th Avenue, and they've had favorable conversations in that regard. High Point Group's proposal is a little bit different. They are proposing 12 twin home units that would be constructed in 6 2-unit clusters. Approximately 1 acre would be retained for outlot and stormwater purposes. Each dwelling is proposed to be a slab on grade with 2 car garages for each. And the development includes an interior shared driveway for 10 of the 12 units. The other 2 would have direct access from Delaware. So part of our review is to look at how these proposals align with our comprehensive plan our zoning. And so staff took a look at the housing goals in our comprehensive plan and pulled out the ones that are pertinent. And as you can see from the different color of text, there's 3 that are met with both of these proposals. So enhanced neighborhood value and quality housing options and types at all price points. I think offering twin homes is different than a single family home, and so we're helping with that missing middle that is talked about in here. And then we're also providing additional mix of housing types for the community. The comprehensive plan also notes that the land use designation for this site is medium density residential, which could allow up to 12 units per acre. The city also had a housing study that was prepared in 2022, and it has calculated the anticipated housing demand that will occur between then and 2030 for numerous housing products. And several construction projects have been initiated since that study, but we have not had any new multifamily units, twin home units in the past year or so. Development projects, that is. Zoning considerations, when you put the 2 of these together, they're fairly similar. The K&T and Andrus proposal meets the zoning ordinance. The High Point one is a little bit higher density than what zoning allows, so that would potentially require, actually, because they're both twin unit projects, a PUD is required for both, and therefore there is not a rezoning requirement. So either project really is in alignment with the zoning, and the density is in alignment specifically with the K&T and Andrus with the existing zoning. The High Point group, their higher density is more in alignment with our comprehensive plan, which allows up to 12 units per acre, as mentioned. And while we can't completely review the zoning without having a full plan set, the staff agrees that a PUD would be the approach to take for both of the proposals. So other considerations, when the city council was looking at this way back in July, they had considered perhaps putting a park in the outlot area, and staff wanted to caution against that because it is kind of a landlocked piece of property. And there are numerous parks within a half mile of the development site. So as an alternative to a park, staff recommends that undeveloped piece of land be utilized for green space and potentially maintained by residents of the new development. Any other options could be evaluated during the development review process. So the next steps would be tonight, the Planning Commission would consider both of the proposals, make a recommendation to council. Council would then again receive presentations from both parties, and then they would take action, presumably on the 16th as well. I will take any questions that you might have.
Can you clarify the density that you have in your report? Because it looks like the project with 12 units is less dense than the project with 10 units, and that's confusing to me.
Spread out over a slightly larger area.
Is it that you're not considering the whole property?
Correct. I
Oh,
took
okay.
into account the space that they were going to actually develop.
Okay. That I just wanted to make sure that I understood that correctly.
Development covers a larger footprint.
Correct.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
using an acre and a half.
Did High Point indicate that they were going to attend today, or did they tell us that they were unable to attend?
No, I had a verbal conversation with both developers and confirmed via email the time and date. So I'm surprised that they're not here.
Hopefully all is well.
So I knew looking at these, it looks like the ones from High Point, most of the driveways, other than 2 of them, would be more, they wouldn't be off 17th. There'd only be 2 off of Delaware. The rest would be on that road that goes to the interior.
That is correct. Yep. So I don't know if my there would be an interior private drive that would access those 10 units.
That's High Points.
That's High Points. That's on the, yep.
Do you know if they had any awareness of the soil conditions relative to that proposal?
I
Do you know?
don't know if they did or not. They have not done the same amount of investigation of the site, to my knowledge, as the other developer.
What are the other criteria that the city wants to use to determine how this sort of decision is made? So being brand new, my first day here, I'm like, does the city say, well, we want to maximize our tax base? Do we want to make sure we have as few driveways on 17th as possible? Like, what are the criteria that we're supposed to be looking at?
Yeah, primarily I would say land use. How does it align with our comprehensive plan
Okay,
and our zoning, and then broader goals of the comp plan? So we are looking to provide more housing choice in the city, and I think that both of these proposals are providing something that is not the primary housing type.
yeah.
If you were to ask city council the question of density, I think you might get varying answers. So it's really important to look back at those documents that we have on the books that have been approved by council. And we know our comprehensive plan indicates that this piece of property is appropriate for medium density, whereas the surrounding development is slated for low density. So this property, when it was back in, when the comprehensive plan was prepared, I don't know who was on the planning commission at that point in time, that piece of land was picked up as this is a unique opportunity for having a little bit higher density in the city.
Higher density. And this is higher density than the immediate surrounding area because they're all single family.
Correct.
And so is the city council's normal desire they want to increase the density?
I would say a typical city council would follow what their plans suggest. So
Which is higher density than the
Yep. So
single
staff
family.
would recommend.
Because these are very similar. Both of these are
Yep.
2 units apart.
That is correct. I would say that they're both, the product is probably pretty similar. One's slab on grade, one has a basement. The other thing to consider is that this proposal is a lot closer to the density that is in existence. So that may be more desirable to meet the existing zoning, to align better with what's there currently.
But the PUD is going to change the need for that anyway, I thought you said.
Could you say that again?
I thought that you said the PUD is going to change the need for that anyway.
Well, a PUD will be required for both of them
Right.
because you cannot have multiple twin homes in a development without one.
Right.
So the PUD will allow some flexibility if necessary on lot size, various factors, but those things would come into consideration and be reviewed again at the time of PUD plan review and approval.
Yep. Okay.
One thing to consider, and I'm speaking in my MnDOT voice here and not as a county person, but we try to keep as few driveways on through streets as possible. That being said, of course, 17th is not a high-speed road, so it probably is not going to have much bearing with the county one way or the other. But we just try, MnDOT at least, who I work for, we try to keep people from having driveways onto through roads if we can, just because it increases the number of crashes that can occur when people are trying to turn in and out of driveways and other people are trying to go straight through.
Yeah.
I will admit that I like the High Point plan, both from the standpoint of the larger units and the driveway coming off of the side street. However, I will also say that I think it speaks volumes that, unless they have a really good excuse, this other group that's here has done some serious in-depth look at it, and they are here. So to me, that also weighs very heavily.
my thought on that also is that if High Point has not done that sort
Yeah.
of investigative work, and then they say, oh, this is going to add another $800,000 to $900,000 to our thing, yeah, we're out. Or what can you do to help? I mean, that's something that they might not understand that. And 900 grand would probably be a chunk of profit when this whole thing is developed if they're going for 400 grand apiece. And so,
Well, I don't know about the soil specifically, but I do recall that our RFP put whatever information the city had acquired on the site out there. And
Yeah.
we do know that there is an issue with a sewer line that needed to be relocated in order to accommodate any development on the site. If there was going to be the road through it, I believe is how it was. So we did our best to provide the information that we had
Right.
accessible.
and if you're speaking as a DOT, as a contractor, you have, if they just filled that hole with scrap, that's not going to hold, that's not going to hold houses. And so that's going to have to be, to dig below it is a really shrewd alternative to say, hey, we can get to good ground here and add that space.
I'm assuming the High Point plan is HOA also?
I don't know that that's been established, but we would evaluate either plan against our subdivision ordinance, and if that is a requirement, then we would.
They're building it, because that influences what the city would have to do if they have to do more plowing. The city is responsible for that new road.
Yeah, I don't think that the city would allow that to be dedicated as right of way.
That would be a private drive.
Okay, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, it's listed on them there as a private drive.
Okay.
I think there are pros and cons to each.
Yeah.
I very much agree with what Commissioner Muhic has said, that the first part of my response would be, I like the idea of not having to do the driveways off of 17th, but I have to also look at it and say, I drive that road pretty much every day or very close to every day, and very infrequently do I interact with vehicles pulling out of driveways. It's really not a common problem
And
in my
roads all down
experience.
the rest of that road and all the way.
And I drive it all the time. So
High-speed road, so.
Yep.
the speed on the road makes a big difference. I think there's a real logical look at it. I appreciate the presentation that they looked at all of these options and have considered this stuff. So I think there's a thoroughness about it that's of value.
Any other questions for me?
I guess one thing that does occur to me is with our, I'm sorry, I don't know the other group's name, the gentleman that presented to us.
K&T.
K&T and
Okay.
Andrus.
The thing that I think that I liked about their presentation in particular is that they are looking at families, I think. They're more so than the other. And, we're so close to an elementary school there that I think it makes more sense to put families in there than it would be to put single-level senior citizen homes. Not that the seniors might not like being close to a school, but it just, it's walkable for a family with small children. So.
All right. No other discussion? That being the case, do you envision we need to formalize our recommendation to council with a motion?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I have a quick question for you. Does the motion need a certain quorum of people to to meet the motion, and here's why I ask is that, and I just looked at this earlier today, so I used to work with High Point Realty. And so maybe just excuse myself from if there's a decision to be made on this. So it's been a long time. I don't actually know Jim. He was there, but we weren't associates at all really in any other shape other than that I was there. So
Yeah.
I think I should remove myself if there's a vote that needs to be made.
Yeah, feel free to abstain. There isn't a required number of votes necessary.
It's not a formal decision-making. It is merely a recommendation to council.
Yep.
But,
But a clear motion
right.
would be required
So
for the record.
that being the case, is there someone who wishes to make a motion for a recommendation to council, and then we can clarify and get the wording right?
If I could suggest, if there is, if somebody would like to move to recommend one versus the other, we could have the first and perhaps the second is how that goes, and then have discussion.
And amend if we need to.
Yep, and then kind of establish what the language of the motion would be during that discussion period, or the recommendation, rather.
You want a
That's
recommendation on
appropriate.
Which direction we go? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yep, council is looking for recommendation on which proposal to pursue.
I'll make a recommendation for K&T and Andrus if, to the group.
Okay. Motion from Commissioner Rathe for recommending the K&T and Andrus proposal to council. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
Second from Commissioner Gadbois. Discussion. Do we further clarify a recommendation or not?
I think that if you had some rationale as to why the decision or recommendation
Yeah.
is made, that would be appreciated.
Yeah. I think I'd like to include, in consideration of the what appears to be a thorough investigation by the developer, and consideration of a number of options for development. More than that?
I do have one question that occurs to me. After having seen what your competitors were proposing, if that gives them some additional ideas, do they still have the option of modifying their proposal if we vote for theirs over the other?
You're suggesting that High Point might want to modify their proposal?
No, I'm saying our gentleman here might, after having seen what High Point was presenting,
I think
maybe
they've
that
had
gave them an idea that they might like to add to theirs.
They've had that opportunity, so I think at this point, we're in a position to try to close this up as soon as possible.
Okay.
And they had already looked at doing something similar and discarded.
Yeah, the one thing that I think High Point did that I didn't notice on theirs was that one unit that was kind of in the back. But maybe I'm misremembering it. It's been 4 or 5 hours since I looked over the packet, so, some days my memory doesn't run as long as I'd like it to.
Andrus had some with two look like in the back after a little cul-de-sac, and then they had, 3 different ones that were.
Yeah, I know that you gentlemen looked at 3 different proposals.
Yeah.
And it did look quite thorough.
Yeah.
Is that enough for clarity?
Sure. So the recommendation to move forward with K&T and Andrus, given the thorough investigation they've put into the property and project and their consideration of numerous options. That seems appropriate.
Okay. Anything else to add? In that case, can we get a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None. That closes the deal for the moment. I'm sure it really doesn't close any deal technically,
We knew
but
that,
you know,
that was a recommendation that we're giving to now send to city council. And they-
recommendation to council.
And council will take a look at these again, and they've invited them both back to present. They'll consider your recommendation, and hopefully they'll make a decision on the 16th.
That being the case, if I can get back to my agenda, got to figure out a way to do that. I have to figure out a way to make the agenda visible. Like I need maybe I need the agenda on my phone or something.
Next item is reports.
It's interesting to use a new device, and it's like a new experiment, you know. But it's been pretty successful. Reports from commissioners. I'd like to have something on my own, but I'll let other commissioners go first. Commissioner Muhic, do you have anything to share?
Not at this time, not that I can think of.
All right. Pardon me. Commissioner Kane-Burback, do you have anything to share?
No, I do not.
Commissioner Rathe?
Nothing to share. Glad we're off to 2024, though.
Yeah, it's a new year. Commissioner Gadbois?
I don't have anything, just thank you
Nothing?
for letting me in. I'm looking forward to working with everyone.
And Commissioner Alvarez?
I don't have anything to share, but I do have a question being newer here. I've been on parks, so I kind of know how it works, but so these folks here seem like they really have a concern about something. They just look concerned. And so I was just wondering how does that get addressed? I'm just wondering if they were just listening or
I think they're here just to listen.
just to listen. Okay. They just seemed like they had a concern, and I just was. The four-way stop on Helen?
It's on the corner, what is it, Delaware and, well, right there, there's a two-way stop, it's two-way stop, not a four-way, it's two-way.
Oh.
One across the street, one here.
Two-way stop. I'm sure there will be public hearings because if
how
it's
do we let her know
if
how
a
the proper
PUD
route to get
if a
that?
PUD will be proposed,
There you go.
there will be public hearings associated
So
with
keep
that.
coming, I guess,
Yeah,
at times.
it's busy at times.
At
Yeah.
times, yep.
But also, you are welcome to come to the city council meeting on the 16th.
There we go.
And comment on the public comment period. You may also, if you choose, provide written comments in the form of email, and we can get them to city council too. I said you could get written comments, and I could provide those to city council if you wanted to send them in a letter or an email. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, to answer your question, no, I don't have anything. they just seem super.
I appreciate that.
So I just wanted to make sure they knew
Yeah.
the right route to get
Well,
their self.
And I know there will be other opportunities
Show up.
to get public
Yep.
input. We would like to be responsive as best we can. That being, yeah.
Now you're smiling. That's good. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a eat the mic situation. That being the case, I would like to welcome all of our new commissioners. That's what I would like to do. I'm thrilled that we have a full mix of individuals and new people and new ideas, and that's nothing but good things come from that, as far as I'm concerned.
Second that.
And tonight's honeymoon night, so we'll argue about stuff later.
Next month we can throw things. There we go.
I don't think there's anything. I was trying to remember. I thought there was an event of some sort coming up, and I was going to bring it up.
We're talking about the 23rd invite for other members of the committee.
I can't remember what it was.
What are you talking about?
That is a good thing to bring up. Some of the new commissioners may not have received the email from Carrie.
Did get it.
You did?
I got
Okay.
it.
Got it? Good.
I don't know how that has been
The open
presented
house
to you,
thing.
but I believe it's an open house format for you to drop in and talk to whoever you'd like.
We have to RSVP for that, right?
I think that would be preferred. That way, if there is a way to corral all the individuals that are interested in one department over another,
Okay.
we can try to schedule that the best we can.
That's just for commissioners?
Commissioners and city council members.
Okay. Because Carrie sent it to my wife, and so she got it, and she's like, I think this is for you. And I said,
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Well, if she has an interest in being on a
Yeah,
commission, we do have
right.
openings.
There you go.
I'm sorry, I did not get, I haven't seen this email. Doesn't mean I haven't gotten it, but I haven't seen it. What's going on?
Oh, it's an invitation to, there's been a request by city council to have greater access to staff, department heads specifically, to understand what's going on in the community. I think they're really interested in what's going on in Public Works and the PD. But you might have an interest in finance and community development too. So it's to provide an opportunity for commissioners and the council members to come in and chat and get to know the staff.
And the two dates are January 23rd and January 24th.
Okay, great. Yeah, since my North St. Paul email goes into a completely separate box, I have to remember to check it, and I don't always.
Okay. I think that was the event I was thinking about, so thank you. We're a team. With that, I would welcome a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn from Commissioner Rathe, a second.
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Alvarez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:22.
Nice meeting you, Liz.